Welcome to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Baines. And today we're joined by debut author Steve Newcomb. Steve's journey weaves together a rich life of ministry, music, drama, and now storytelling. From the scenic hills of Asheville to the pages of a dual-time historical thriller, Steve's faith and creativity shine through in a tale that blends art, history, and God's providence. You'll hear how his experiences from drama ministry stages across the world to the quiet discipline of daily writing have shaped both his book and his walk with Christ. Let's get to it. Hi, Steve, and welcome to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. I'm so happy that you were able to join me today for this episode. Would you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Well, I'd love to. My name is Steve Newcomb. I am a resident of Asheville, North Carolina, currently. We moved here in 2021 to be near our daughter and now our two grandchildren. I am also now a debut published author as of this past Friday on Amazon. So an exciting event that we're celebrating here in this household. So that there's a really small nutshell there for you.
Well, for any of you authors out there, I know that first book, when you say, by golly, I are one now, is really exciting.
It sure is, and I just wish people could peel back the curtains and see behind the scene of everything that goes on before they order that book off the marketplace. It's an incredible journey.
It is. Just for one thing, starting to climb that mountain to becoming an author is an awesome task, and often so daunting that there are many, many good stories that never get written because people just don't want to climb that mountain.
Well, you climb a mountain one step at a time, and that's what I learned early on, and you climb it every day to keep your pace going.
Yeah. You have to keep going, because if you stop long enough, you may never get started again.
That's true. I got some advice early on about 3 years ago on a podcast similar to yours, and the host mentioned you need to write frequently and write fast and write every day and keep track of your word count. And that write every day suggestion really is what propelled me to keep writing, because I only had a couple hours a day to write. My wife and I watch our two grandkids several days a week, so there was a small window that I could work in during that time. Basically 2 hours a day, and that was it.
Well, at our age, grandchildren is what really, really floats our boats.
It is. As long as you don't get overwhelmed and go overboard because of the activities. But yeah, that's true. They are truly fun to be with. Sometimes too much fun, but still, it's a great opportunity to invest into their lives and, help form their character for their generation of the life that they're going to be facing.
I've told my children that if I'd have known just how much fun grandkids were going to be, I'd have had them first. They're a lot more fun than the children.
And hopefully I'm not making the same mistakes a second time around as a grandparent.
Well, yeah, but if you do, your kids are going to have to deal with it, not you.
That's right. You can have a grand time and then you send them home. That's why you're called grandparents.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. So you live in Asheville, North Carolina, a beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place to live, and we have come back since the big storm Helene last September. That was quite an event. earth or life-changing event in many, many ways.
Right.
But it's the city's coming back. The recreational areas are coming back. By and large, we're getting much, much closer to what things were like before.
Like, is there some place around Asheville that you like to go just to refresh your soul?
Well, we do go to the Biltmore quite a bit.
Oh,
We're
do
only 20 minutes away from it,
yeah.
and we have an annual pass. So we can come and go. We have a couple of e-bikes that we like to
Oh,
ride,
yeah.
and so we can zip around quite a bit of the estate that way.
Yeah.
They have some wonderful live music events on Friday and Saturday nights during the summertime. We
Mm.
go and just take our lawn chair and relax. And we recently went to the King Tutankhamun exhibit that is there currently, and it was quite something. It
Mm.
was an amazing display. So that's one place we like to go. Other places, we have North Carolina Arboretum that we can do some bike riding through, and or just walk through and enjoy the gardens.
Yeah.
So getting outside, walking, riding our bikes are some of the main things that we enjoy to unwind and relax. And during the writing of the book, if I got stuck, I'd just get out of my seat and walk through the neighborhood, which we have a wonderful neighborhood that's very pedestrian friendly to walk through. Take our little pooch Thor for a walk and clear my mind for a few minutes and come back and pick up things.
Yeah. It sounds great. My wife and I really have high praise for electric bikes. Uh, they certainly have extended our biking abilities.
Yeah, well, my wife's still quite active on her normal bike, but I have some heart issues, so I just use the assistance of the electric bike,
Sure.
and then we can enjoy our biking together.
Yeah. Steve, this is a kind of an odd question, I suppose, but if you've seen the podcast, you know I ask everyone these two questions. What are three of your favorite songs?
I think one of my favorite hymns is "In Christ Alone" by the Gettys.
Yeah.
It's a very uplifting, encouraging. The Gettys do such a good job on rich theology in their lyrics and singability in their melodies, which are two really important things for corporate worship, I think.
Mhm.
Another one that's been a favorite for a very long time is an older hymn, "Oh, the Deep, Deep Love of Jesus."
Yeah.
It talks about the love rolling over us like the ocean waves and whatnot. Just some really beautiful lyrics in that one. A third one, I didn't come up with a third one. Um, it would be very selfish of me to claim one that I've written, but
Oh, well, you would have to have that as a favorite, or why would you write it?
I I wrote a musical about Martin Luther for the anniversary back in 2017. It
Hmm.
was for the drama ministry I was part of at the time. And one of his uh, themes is by faith alone that brings us salvation. And that was the theme of the song, one of the songs I wrote in that production, which I just enjoy a lot and have had many people give me some feedback on how much it ministers to them, and they appreciate the song. So I think that would be in my top three.
Yeah. How about movies?
Movies, I'm a big fan of the Indiana Jones series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love the first and the third one the best. The original one and the third one that Sean Connery was in with him. The others, the more modern ones, not so much, but those two especially, I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I'd have to throw in a musical. The Sound of Music would be up there. So those would be some of my favorite genres. Another one, I'll just throw one more in, kind of a different genre altogether. It's called The Ghost Rider, It's a thriller about a ghostwriter who is hired to write the autobiography of a former British prime minister who, right after he signs on to become the author, is embroiled in some controversy. The prime minister, that is, controversy about water torture from some of the activities during the Gulf War, and it goes on and on and on, twist after twist after twist. And for a writer, it's kind of fun to watch him squirm a little bit and see how he deals with what he's gotten into.
Interesting, yeah. Well, a little more serious now. Tell us, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your walk with Christ.
I grew up going to church from preschool on in a Presbyterian church in Southern California, and I heard a lot about Jesus, and I thought I knew about Jesus, but I went to as a freshman I went away to college in San Diego State University. Started attending a Baptist church there. Heard some more in-depth sermons about what it meant to surrender to Christ, to receive forgiveness through true repentance, and realized that's something I had never done. So I did a walk of faith up to the front to commit my life to Christ. Met with the senior pastor the following week because he wanted to make sure I understood what I was doing, which I really appreciate. It was taken seriously that people understand what salvation means. And I'll tell you, reading the scripture opened up like never before after that happened. I was attending a Bible study on Sundays for college students, and things just took on totally new, refreshing, deeper meanings for me. And from that point forward, I went to some training by InterVarsity on campus, and also what was called Campus Crusade at the time. It's now called Cru. Took several discipleship mentoring courses to just solidify my understanding of what it meant to be a Christian and how to grow in Christ. So that was in my college years. Shortly after that, I formed a Christian rock group that was together for about 3 or 4 years, and we toured around Southern California quite a bit and cut a little vinyl record after our time was up, just to have as a memorabilia item for memory's sake. And then throughout the years, I've just steadily walked with Christ. Sometimes it's been a plateau. Sometimes it's been an upward ascent, like walking upwards on a trail up the mountain that has switchbacks. Sometimes we stop at a switchback to rest and reflect, and other times we head upwards where we have periods of growth in our life, periods of deeper understanding of scriptures, and we see things that we didn't see the last time we read the same scripture come alight anew.
So true.
So we part of our story, as I mentioned, being part of a Christian theater group that was a traveling group. We spent some of our time in Florida, and we were able to attend some of the Ligonier ministry conferences led at the time by R.C. Sproul, who now has gone on to be with the Lord. Those conferences were extremely enriching. We are grateful for those. And back to the drama ministry, we did that on faith as far as financial support was concerned. We lived off supporters who believed in what we were doing, provided monthly support. Wasn't quite enough to meet our needs all the way through, but we had some savings saved up from retirement that we rested on. And I'll tell you, we have so many stories of God's faithfulness and just his mercies during our travels, the fruit that we saw in performances such as Romania, Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
a prison in London.
Wow.
God, God sent us almost all over the world during that
Mm.
ministry. It was a tremendous, fruitful time of service using gifts of drama and music.
Well, I'm sure you've got a rich history there.
So we have stories of our van breaking down at the beginning of a tour, needing a new motor, and
Oh my.
we it was going to cost us $4,000, and we didn't even have $400 in the bank.
Yeah.
So, but in God's grace and provision, by the time it was repaired and put into the van, we had all $4,000 supplied by our supporters and churches and
Mm.
different people. So God was faithful. He showed up when we needed him to show
Yeah.
up.
Uh, I heard someone say that Jesus is the slowest man he knows that's always on time.
That is such a great picture. Yep. It's not the timing we hope for all
Right.
necessarily, but it's the timing that is necessary for his purpose. Yeah.
Keeps the wheels turning on that van.
Oh, he sure did.
Hmm. What caused you to start writing a book? Why did you become a Christian fiction author?
Well, back in the 1990s, when I was working in IT as a programmer on an old IBM mainframe,
Mm-hmm.
an idea came to me about hiding codes in computer code that led to clues about hidden art.
Mm.
That was the crux of the idea. I was heavily involved in programming, so the most basic parts of a computer code are zeros and ones, and a number, for example, has 8 bits to it. Any character has 8 bits to it, and I thought, well, 8 bits is like eighth notes in a musical composition, and I started thinking, well, I could hide code in music that related to these 8 bits in computer code, and started outlining characters and locations and things. And then we left that world in 2005 to go into our drama ministry, and I just packed everything up.
Oh.
Then in 2018, when we retired from the drama ministry, I pulled it all out again and started afresh, looking at everything I had. I looked at what I'd written before and threw it away, and started revising my thoughts on the plots and points and how this was all going to work out, and started working on it again. And then we moved to Asheville, and it got put away again for another 6 or 7 months. Started working on it again, and then met a friend, a wonderful friend. His name is Fred von Kamaka. He is a published Christian author. He has a wonderful book called Busted. It's about Christian apologetics based on the old TV show Mythbusters, where he addresses myths people put out there about Christianity or the scriptures and whatnot. And he said to me one day, if you're serious about being a writer, you should go to a writer's conference. I thought, okay, that sounds pretty good. So there is one of the biggest Christian writers conferences held here in Asheville. It's called the Christian Mountain. This is such a long title, I mess it up sometimes. Christian Mountain Christian Writers Conference.
Yeah, I've come across that before on the internet.
Yeah, and it's he and I went to it together. Before I went, I saw a post by a person saying, if you're going to the conference for the first time as an older person and would like a little coaching on how to go about picking what classes to go to, these conferences have just like 10 times the amount of classes you could ever try to fit in. So we had a Zoom session. Her name was Lori, and I sent her what I was writing on my novel up to that point, and we had a lovely time on a Zoom call. We talked about the conference, and then I asked her, what did you think about the sample I sent you of what I'm working on? And she said, well, the first part I thought, okay, it's going to be another art heist movie. And then when I read about the Nazis and IBM in bed together, then you really had my curiosity.
Yeah.
So she helped me put together a one-page summary to take to the conference. So at the conference, you have an opportunity to sit down in 15-minute appointments with the publishers and agents and authors and talk about your book or ask them questions. So I sat down with acquisition editor from Tyndale for my first appointment and gave her my what they call an elevator speech, which is like a 2-minute snappy little catch their attention, synthesis of your book. And she asked for my one sheet, and I gave it to her to take a look at and said, well, when you're finished with your novel, I want you to send it to me so I can read it and start working on your social media. Yeah, I know. I was in shock after that first sentence because I'd only written about a third of what it ended up being at that point, and it was a rough first draft.
Yeah.
And I walked out of there kind of in shock, and I sat down in a little lounge area. A couple of ladies saw me. I must have looked super perplexed, and they asked me, "Are you okay?" And I told them what had happened, and their eyes got extremely large and said, "She asked for the whole book?" And I said, yeah, is that a big deal? And they said, are you kidding? Have you called your wife yet? So they said, you call your wife right now. Well, then later that evening, Lori, the one I had Zoomed with before the conference, saw me in the lunch line or the dinner line and asked how things were going. And I told her, well, Elizabeth Jackson from Tyndale asked for the whole book when it's done. She said, I've been thinking about you all afternoon. You need to come meet Bob. Well, Bob is Bob Hostetler, who is an agent with the Steve Laube Agency, one of the largest Christian author agencies. She took me over to his table and I sat down and he says, now tell me about your book. So I gave him the elevator speech and he said, I like that. I like that. I like that. He said, give me your one sheet. So I handed it to him. He says, yeah, that looks technology. Yeah, art. Okay, here's what we're going to do. And for the next 20 minutes, he talked to me about what I should do next, how I should put a profile together to send to him, a proposal after the first draft was done. My friend Fred, who had said, if you're serious about a writer's conference, was sitting at the table with me.
Oh.
And when we walked away, I said, did what I think happened just happen? He says, yeah, you're certainly the golden boy today. So I saw Lori the next morning and I said, Lori, I'm scared to death. These people think I can write a book. And I don't even have half a book written yet.
Yeah.
So she led me to a mentoring group led by Cindy Sproles. And I was connected up with a Christian author by the name of Ann Tatlock. We did a Zoom call a week or so after the conference to get acquainted and share my experience from the conference and tell her what kind of assistance I was looking for. And over the next year and a half, she worked with me until we have a finished draft, a finished version of the book. And because of her wisdom, she had me pause writing and spend time outlining the entire book instead of write, because the book is what's called a dual time or slip time novel, where it takes place in 2022 and 1937 and alternates back and forth. So I wasn't real clear up to that point how I was going to make this all work. So her advice to stop and outline was golden advice and really helped me move forward with a finished book, which is now out there for everybody to enjoy. Part of the process involved going to monthly critique groups. I belong to a group called Wordweavers, which meets on a monthly basis. We bring samples of what we're working on. It's read out loud, and then people make notes and respond to what was good about it, suggestions on how to make it better. And those sessions were just invaluable to find out, am I on track? Is it coming through clearly? Is it interesting enough? So I give a shout out to my Hendersonville, North Carolina Wordweavers group for all your helpful input and support through the process. The next thing that I did was invite people to be advanced readers, so that when the book was published, I could have a group that would be ready to put reviews up on Amazon for me.
Yeah.
And that's worked out pretty well. The book went live on Friday last week, and I have 6 reviews so far, which I'm pleased with. And again, some of the Wordweaver critique group members were part of those people, and I have several others that I'm waiting on to see their reviews come up. So very pleased with the process so far and how things have gone. And one thing I'm really pleased about in the book, I touch on some history that was new to me, and I hope will be new to my readers, about Christians involved in helping Jews in occupied France, that were new stories I'd never come across before. So I hope that will open the eyes to some people.
Yeah.
The other thing is an idea that came quite early in the process. I created websites for 3 of the entities in my book. There's an art gallery in the modern time period. There's a technology company that the main character is president of, and there's a college that some of the professors are involved in the story. And in addition to the websites, I had the characters writing blog posts about various things that take place in the story or various historical events. In the printed book and in the Kindle version, there are QR codes that you can either scan, or on the Kindle, you just do a tap of the code, and it takes you straight to those blog posts or those websites for people to read some more information about things that are occurring in the book as they read it.
So let me make sure I understand what you just told me. You have characters in your book writing blogs that you post on your web pages.
Yes.
That is so cool. So your characters become an interactive part of what you're doing, and they promote themselves and you at the same time. They've developed their own life.
Well, I don't exist to them as far as they're concerned.
They're so, I don't know, ingrates or whatever. I mean, you bring them to life and then they go off like you don't exist.
Exactly. So another unique thing is part of the story involves a picture by Pablo Picasso of Igor Stravinsky. It's a simple line drawing, and that drawing has been used by art teachers to teach technique. And the way they use it is by turning the picture upside down and covering most of it except about an inch at the top. So the student just draws the lines that he can see. He doesn't know if it's a hand or a chair or whatever. It's just lines. And then little by little, you drop the page that's covering the picture and draw the next set of lines and so on. And so that's all described in the book. and I've actually put out as a contest for people to submit their version of doing that to win a free copy of the book. So that's all on my website, and
Yeah,
I've
that's
gotten a
true.
few entries for that so far. So it's just a little bit of fun to do with
Yeah,
the content of the novel.
you involve people in a lot of different ways. Very interactive.
Well, the readers that have, the advanced readers that had an opportunity to go through this have really enjoyed those QR codes and the extra material that it leads to.
Yeah.
So I was happy to hear, excuse me, that it was worth it.
Well, yeah, that didn't just fall into place. You had to work to coordinate it and make it all happen.
Right. It was almost like a separate writing project.
Yeah. Well, is there a biblical truth or passage that anchors uh, your book?
My main character has a personal struggle that he cannot change. So the theme in the book is submitting to God for things we cannot control.
Mm.
And there is a pastor who's one of the characters, and I use short bits in a sermon, short bits in referencing his podcast, short bits in conversations involving that pastor and that subject of God's providence and how to find peace in the midst of circumstances that we just can't control. That's one of the major spiritual themes. And another one is in the historical section. Some of the women characters have to operate on some trust in some dangerous situations that they're involved in. So I would say those two themes are that, and along with Christian commitment towards helping those who can't help themselves, such as the pastor in 1938 and 40 who helps these Jewish art patrons find safety in World War II occupied France.
Mm. Yeah. Do you see your book connecting with both men, women, and families?
I do. I've gotten some good feedback from my male readers. They commented on that issue with the main character dealing with control and submission. And also, there are several mentions of Old Testament passages or characters or things that have happened in the Old Testament that are woven in as well to remind us again of God's his creation and beauty, his beauty in creation rather, his assistance in time of need. Queen Esther is referenced in there, and some other Old Testament references to bring in encouragement. Well, I think they'll connect on there is an issue of protecting a spouse, how a husband, what attitude a husband should have in that situation. There's the issues of reputation, family reputation, and legacy is another theme that the main character struggles with, and finding out what's most important about family legacy, whether you know truth or not.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that to
Sure.
hang in the curiosity of people's minds a little bit.
Yeah, you can't give too much away.
I think it also could be an interesting tool for history teachers because there is so much history in it, and my readers have said that they enjoy it woven in so well with the fiction part and with the characters involved. I have several historical characters. Of course, Pablo Picasso is the artist involved with the art that's lost. Ernest Hemingway is involved. Igor Stravinsky, who was a Russian composer. All of these people were in Paris at the same time. And at the time of 1937, I just plucked out of the air one day, and it just turned out to be a precious date of such rich things going on.
Yeah.
There's also a historical figure, a black entertainer by the name of Josephine Baker. She was in Paris at the same time. She left America to escape racism and landed in Paris and became quite an entertainer, but also became involved in some other activities to help friends out, and that's all I'll say about that.
Very good. Do you feel like your book doesn't entertain, but perhaps sharpens the faith of the reader?
I do, and that was an intention. Although it was not my original intention when I was writing the book. Before I went to the first Christian Writers Conference, I hadn't given much to an opportunity to include a Christian message. I'm of Clive Cussler thrillers, and that was...
I read Clive, yeah.
Kind of my idea of the type of book I wanted to write. Then after going to the conference, that first one where the publisher and the agent both showed some interest, I thought, there's an opportunity here to do more than just a Clive Cussler knockoff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I focused on what do I want the message to be, how am I going to weave it in, so focusing on some things, things kind of took on a life of their own at one point in determining what was going to go on a spiritual level. My characters talked to me about it a couple of times too.
Yeah. Don't miss it, Steve.
That's right.
Well, so you see your writing, you could consider it as a ministry or a mission?
Definitely. We have neighbors that are reading the book, and I do not know their spiritual time, and I'm hoping that the scriptures they read and the circumstances they see the characters go through might open a door. I hope that's true with anybody that reads the book or maybe shares it with a friend. It could be a conversation start in some sense, or just cause somebody to stop and think, those were dark days and God came. And in the modern days, AJ was struggling with some dark things and God came through, and maybe there's something about this God thing to look at.
Do you feel like there was a lesson, perhaps, that God taught you in the midst of all this writing?
Just one?
Well, it's not like your songs or your movies. I'm not asking for your top 3, but yeah, just share one.
One thing that I think is common amongst many authors is syndrome. I'm searching for the word right now. Oh Lordy, here I write 90,000 words and I can't. A faker. You're a fake. You're not a writer. You're
an imposter.
Imposter syndrome. That's the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's something a lot of writers go through, thinking, I to do this. You go to these conferences and they have an awards night, and you see people, that they're winning awards for things. They're winning their 5th award, let alone their 1st.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I'm never going to be on that stage. You deal with envy. You deal with, why am I doing this? So you have to really guard your mind. Thoughts creep up, and trust. One issue, back to that early podcast that I talked about write fast and write every day. The other thing that stuck this. Why should anybody write your thriller when there are thousands of thrillers similar in theme? And because your voice is going to be different than everybody else that's written one.
True.
And when I heard that, that really motivator to say, okay, there's no other Steve Newcomb out there. That may be a blessing by God that there's not a second one. Use my voice the way it is, the way God gave it to me to use, and hopefully it'll strike a chord with readers along the way. Just persevering. Sometimes you don't want to sit down and write. And Jerry Jenkins circulates amongst authors. It's very poignant piece of suggestion. And it goes like this. In the seat and write.
How long did it take to pen that?
Yeah. Can't just wait for the muse to strike you and say, oh, yeah. Steve, you're going to get this great idea. If you just go and start typing, it's going to flow out of your face. It's going to be so great. You're not going to want to stop typing. Sometimes all I could do is type one sentence, and then here's two sentences. Here's a paragraph. And it's work. It's a discipline, just like anything else. You have a job and you do it. And so those were some of the things I learned is be careful that you hear that are saying you don't know what you're doing, you're an imposter. And if you can say you wrote a novel, and how many people can say they wrote a novel? So
that alone, is gratification.
So those were some of the things I learned. I learned that my wife is very patient and supportive of this process. She has picked up some of the extra time of taking care of the grandkids, even though I was trying to wrap time. And I faced some issues along the way. I faced a bout with anemia, RSV. I faced, Helene in the middle of doing all this writing as well. So there were a lot of could have said, just, stop for a while and you get back to it sooner or later. But I picked plugging away, and that's and the editing process is the same thing. Just read it 5 times and make sure your punctuation's good, and that editing is harder work than the writing because
it's boring too.
It can be boring. I mean, I had a list of what I call red flag words. A second revision of a chapter, I'd search for all these red flag words and make sure they weren't in there, and if they were, write them so they weren't there. I would listen to Word read it out loud to me, and then I used some online editing tool things, and then print it out and let it sit around for a couple of days and look at it again, and lo and behold, there's a word missing. I swear that. So it's quite a process, and then of course I cannot speak more. Anne Tatlock, she's a Christie Award-winning author. She's written numerous books. Just did editing for me, and actually was as much a mentor and encourager as she was an editor. To have that partnership with Anne very, very much.
It sounds like you're doing it all correct.
Well, I hope so. I've tried to find good advice and listen to good advice and put it into practice. So we'll see how readers who react to it, and it's in God's hands at this point, except for all the work of posting on social media and sending out emails and all publishers expect authors to do these days. It's just upload it to Amazon and several months and hope that the sales start going. You got to be your promoter, and that's a balancing act. Promoting properly without boasting or being some of those things. So there's balancing acts. Heard or read that something in the neighborhood of 4,000 are added to Amazon every day. Self-publishing becoming easier and easier. There's lots of books out there and but
that's true.
But it's a market, and it's a great way for people to their content that they want to share, and it's great. It's very little expense on it. It's basically free.
Exactly.
It's just all the work that can kill you.
Well, it's interviewed that are independently published. There are some that now make their books are popular and they sell a lot. People recognize the name and they buy the book. Maybe so name recognition is very important, and it's hard to do if you got 2 or 3 and people aren't recommending them for book clubs and
because one advertising technique for is you, after your second or third book, barcodes in your first book to reference the second and third book, so readers got more books and it starts feeding on itself. And so what's your next book? And I said, ask my wife if I'm going to live to write a second. I do have some thoughts on devotional that includes some of the story, traveling drama ministry, and God did in the midst of all of that. That's a possibility.
A one sentence that would convince us to pick up your book and read it.
I'll just give my tagline. And intrigued with A.J. Meyer, CEO Tech, those left by his grandfather, hinting at his grandfather may have worked for IBM.
Yeah. Well, that should pique people's interest if they're history buffs. Yeah. What's the internet for your internet sites?
Go to stevenewcomb.com, and it's just STENEWCOM. Newcomb is like a new comb. They can get to everything from that. The book is on the homepage, and they can then. They're going to have to get the book if they want to see some of these blog posts by the character.
Yeah, okay. They can also sign up for your.
Right on the homepage, they can get the newsletter, because I am in progress of creating an audio. Had several requests for audiobooks, but that won't happen until fall, or maybe by the time for sign up for hearing progress on that if they're interested in the version.
Yeah. Well, as we wind down, a final thought you'd like to leave with our audience?
One thought is, if anybody listening to writing, sit down and start writing. You'd be surprised what's inside of you, how it may reach somebody that you have no idea one day that it could reach. Yeah. Even if you write it with a friend or post it on Facebook. You just who it's going to reach and how there's something you had to say from your life experience. About a short memoir, just outlining to know more about you. One thing I posted about last year was keeping journals to my of composition books, and every so often I write each of my grandkids something for them to.
Great, yeah. Well, Steve, I've certainly conversation, and I'm so happy that you to visit with our audience. Myself, I hope that people check your book out and go to your homepage, sign more about your book, and become engaged, and maybe read some of your characters once they get to know your characters. I think that's so.
Well, it has been a pleasure sharing this time with you, and invitation to join you for this podcast.
And fiction authors, it would just be me talking. I guess. Could we close? Our Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much. The experiences. Thank you for the courage that people like Steve to take those experiences and put them in a form they might lead other people to come to know you. What you have planned, but has willing hands, willing feet, a willing mind. Give him and share it with others. So your loving grace spread and his wife and his children and his grandchildren live on and inspire people for generations to come if needed, if you don't come before then. And all the thanks. And we ask this blessing in thy name.
Amen. Thank you.
This is the worst part of my interview. I always feel guilty pressing the stop button. It's worse than saying goodbye on a phone. Yeah. Anyway, Steve, a pleasure, and we together. You never know. I do appreciate your time, though, sir.
Well, encouragement was to receive your email out of the blue. I have planned to pursue getting on podcasts. Pursued to be on a podcast was. You were an extreme blessing to me with that invitation.
Thank you, and I know your book is going to be an extension. So,
well, thank you.
Have a good afternoon. Grandkids tomorrow.
Yep, that's right. Intrigued with the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Steve Newcomb, an inspiring reminder that God can use every from grand adventures to quiet perseverance. I encourage you to visit Steve's website, newcomb.com. Check out his book, those interactive character blogs he mentioned. Encouraged you? Please subscribe. Share it with a friend. Until next time, inspire your faith and stir your. This is Mike Baines, out.